No, I'm fine with whatever.
No. I ditched my second class again.
Okay, so here's the thing. You look at this leg, in the last one, just so you know, I pulled out 12 separate roastable cuts, okay, that you can treat like filet or a cereal cut if you want. So, ham hock, right, which is here, henceforth ham hock, right? So first thing I'm gonna do, thank God Rick is so quiet today.
We have more people joining the class. Future Butchers of America.
So here's what we're gonna do. So the hock right here, I'm gonna make an incision. You can take this, brine it at home. If you get a whole pig, take it 5% brine solution in your water. 5% to weight, okay? Put a little bit of pink salt, AKA nitrate in it. It's a safety thing, right? Especially if you're gonna like brine, smoke, and like put it away to like use in the future, right? Ham hocks, the reason they're all pink, they have nitrates in them. They have cure salt in them. Cure salt is really safe and great when you control it, right? If you go to any grocery store and somebody tells you that this is nitrate-free salami, it's a lie. They're using celery juice. Celery juice has the highest concentration of nitrates. A salad that you eat has more nitrates than actually a plate of prosciutto. Just so you're like 100% transparent with that, so you're aware, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do is actually take off the hock.
Here's learn something. Yeah. Learn something new every day. Professor Costantino.
It's amazing what you learn when you're in a meat processing facility.
I sometimes learn shit when I don't talk so much too. So
Okay, so I'm going to take this hock off and then use the weight of the natural weight. This is the scariest saw because the blade is just flexy.
Is this yours, Brett's?
It's Brad's, it's not mine. They wouldn't let me on a plane with this one. Okay, so. First thing I'm going to do is skin it. And you guys can shame Rick if he's allowed. Okay?
We can do that.
keep it down, Rick.
One thing, always have a steel. I know you're going to be surprised, but even by just doing halfway through the leg, your knife will dull enough where you need it. Okay, so I always do like
Get that
the steel and then go back. Always towel after your steel because you'll have the particulates naturally that come from your steel. So I'm just going to slowly pull. Somebody asked me before how long it takes me to do it without talking. And it usually, yesterday, I was like, yeah, I can get these done in about 25 minutes. And I ended up having to do like we were doing so many other things yesterday that I couldn't just do that and the pig, and it took me like half a day.
But now when you come back to the restaurant, then I already know what you need me to do for you. See?
So see,
baby.
so you get, see all this fat on here? So what I'm gonna do now is,
Nice.
now I'm using
The weight.
the weight of the animal again. And you know, we're not worried about how it's going to appear on the actual leg. I just want to leave the meat on the leg, right? So I can see here. You guys can see.
And are you trying to leave? Are you trying to leave like a fat on there for like when you're
On this?
or on this part of the meat?
No, I don't want to leave too much fat on because if you do, you have to deal with it, right?
Okay, yeah.
But I also don't want to nick the muscle. And you see, so you guys can see too, as I take my knife, I'm pushing against and pulling. So the flat is here, so it's not in, it's not up.
What happens if you nick the muscle?
Oh well. I don't want to. The goal is to leave as much meat on the meat as possible, right? But it's not going to kill it. It's not going to ruin it. But like, it's good practice to really try to keep all of the
The meat on
the on the actual meat, right? Now, what we're gonna have here is 3 different piles, right? You're gonna have the searable pile, the grindable pile, and your chicharron and bone pile.
Oh, you're leaving the fat on there for the chicharron.
Because when you boil this, right, all the fat comes to the top. You take that fat off, and then you slowly cook that down to clarify it, and you have pork fat. Boiling fat is a better way to get a better fat. Don't render fat like by putting it in a stove, it gets colored. So like as a restaurant, if you have a circulator, we would take and grind all our animal fat, put it in cryovac bags with herbs, and then render it in a circulator at a low temp overnight. You come in the next day, 210 degrees, just below boiling.
Just gonna ask you.
Perfectly crystal clear fat, tons of flavor. It's not burnt. It's like it's transparent.
Fuck yeah.
And then
dude.
all the little granules. Now, the other thing.
I wish Natalia was here to hear that.
Remember that? 210.
210. 210. All right. Grabbing the.
See, like you asked what happens? I just have a little nip there. So what's going to happen is and this is actually like, I don't want it to go any further. See how I pushed it back down?
Yeah. Don't pick that scab out of here.
Exactly. That's the best thing. It's like, the scab ain't ready, but you're that idiot that keeps picking.
You shouldn't have fallen off your bike.
Exactly. Don't fall down. Should have shaved your legs before that fall.
Oh yeah, take it, Erm. Take it, Erm Blues.
Okay, so skin. Now, if you want, you can make spaghetti out of skin. You can take the skin, you salt it, let it sit for 6 hours, boil it in water, then take it out when it's finger tender, meaning you can squeeze your finger through it, okay? Then lay it all out flat, let it chill. But when you lay it out flat, you want to lay it out skin side down, okay? Because you have that fat on it. Remember I said all that fat rises to the top? You take whatever's left on there with a bench scraper and you scrape it all off. That fat you can then render down with your other fat and have more, or you can whip it into the Chianti butter you guys had earlier.
Yeah.
Okay? Then you can take this and run it through your pasta cutter. So on the pasta machine over there, you have your fettuccine cutter, and you can make gluten-free spaghetti. Dead serious.
Yeah.
Pig noodles.
Ground up in sausage is really good too.
Yeah. Well, that's cotechino, the traditional cotechino, right? Cotechino and zampone was made with the use of skin and meat.
What is that, Chris?
Cotechino and zampone is a traditional sausage,
Okay.
meaning it's a skin and sinew sausage that was specifically made during the new year to celebrate a prosperous new year.
That's what you were talking about earlier.
Yes. So they would take skin, sinew. Okay, we're going to do this. Okay, so now I'm going to look for seams. We got one right here. See?
And this is where you were saying that if it were a fresh pig that hadn't been chilled, you'd just be able to run your finger through there and break those muscles.
Whole pig.
Yeah.
Right? And think about how cool that is,
Warm
right?
butchery.
Like warm butchery is so rare, and when you see it the first time, it is like super cool to see. Like people, the efficiencies and the speed of it, because it's warm, right? And it's like super like has been used. And the muscle's really fresh. It came from scalding, evisceration, and went right into processing, and creates a whole new exhaust. See this right here?
No rigor mortis.
No rigor. See? I'm just using what's that?
What you just described, right? I see you like having swallowed it in there.
I'm spacing on the name of this piece of cured meat, but there's a muscle that they take out of the leg and they cure it whole in Bologna.
The culatella.
Yeah. You're going to show us which one that is when we get to it.
With the leg, it's the haunch. They call it the haunch. So there.
So that's one muscle, one muscle layer.
Yep. So think about this, right? Here. It's right here. Okay? Do this with yourself. Okay? How much action is happening in your leg to make you lift? Right? Glute, right? Hamstring goes all the way down, right? You have all these muscles going in different directions. So when you've gone out and had a leg of lamb and somebody cuts your leg of lamb and you get a tough bit, it means they didn't cut that section against the grain. Because every direction. It's a different movement. It's creating that movement, right? So if you pull a muscle in your leg, which one are you pulling? You don't know because there's so many. The one that hurts. Exactly. So if you think about it from that perspective of the actual process of this, I'm basically taking it down to each muscle in its directional form for when you cut it and slice it, you're getting the perfect slice every single time. Does that make sense? Yeah. And you don't think about that when somebody does a roasted leg of lamb, right? You just think, oh, I got a tough spot. They didn't cook it. It has nothing to do with what they cooked. It has to do with the way this is.
Well, being an elite level cyclist,
We can do it on leg of lamb. You can do it on leg of venison. You can do it on anything. You can do it with cow.
Chicken thigh.
being an elite
Chicken
cyclist.
thigh they do, all the yakitori spots.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm just saying, like when I have the occasion where I have like, you know, thighs that are boneless, skinless, and taking them down into smaller pieces, I try to find those things that.
Yeah. Why not use nature's guide, which is your fingers, right? Like, look at this. I'm literally pushing my finger in through sinew.
So if you can isolate and separate those from the other, then that piece of meat is going to be
It's all
more naturally tender.
That's each a roastable piece. Every single piece, when I'm done, will be something you can treat like a pork thing.
Any chicharron tips?
Chicharron tips, season overnight first. Salt. Okay, so just so you kind of see, like this is the fascia here. I'm gonna trim this little end, okay? Right? And now you see this here, like this little sinew, okay? So how do you prevent that from curling when it touches the pan? We're just, it won't contract. That's it. So I've got right here, I've got this little tiny cut here. I'm gonna take off any of this extra outside. This one I'm gonna trim the fascia. Okay. There you go. Okay. Grind pile. There's nothing wrong with having a grind pile. Okay, and you can see now, here's that hip joint. We're gonna keep working through. Okay, here's my next muscle.
Considerably larger than the other two.
See how I'm using my finger and finding those seams?
Yeah, it's a folded, this is why I love this, because you're not putting filling down and then putting top and then putting mold on it. This is kind of like.
That guy Rick just talks so much. See how I'm just pulling? Watch. Thank God it's quiet in here.
Well, I'm glad that you inflect. It's kind of monotone.
Chris, when did you get here?
Rick, you're here. Where are you? I can't see you. I can hear you.
You doing another leg?
Yeah. Everybody jumped ship, though. They all wanted to go to your demo. They're like, that guy's gross. I just want pasta. Okay, so you see how here? I got another. And look at that. Watch. See this? This is all that fascia. Look at your fingers. They're pretty amazing, right? Like,
So when you get deep tissue massage and they're working on your fascia,
That's this.
that's what they're loosening up.
Yeah. So when the fascia gets tight, it adheres to the muscle. That means your muscle can't glide.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're pinched or you are constricted, the fascia is constricted. You know when they do cupping?
Yeah.
Cupping is pulling the fascia off of your muscle so your muscle can glide again.
Like the most ignored part of Western medicine, the fascia.
Not your masha, not your fascia. How's that for a jam?
That's
Right there.
gorgeous.
So how much do you think this leg weighed when you started?
I'd say about 25 pounds.
Okay. And that whole side that we did was like
140.
just the side?
Yeah.
Oh,
140,
that's
145. How's that for a roastable cut of meat? Gorgeous. Right? Like, you see what I'm saying? So like if I'm gonna come and be really nitpicky, right? Like if I was in a restaurant. Okay, we're gonna get rid of this. Nothing wrong with that, but it's not a roastable piece, right? I want to like really talk about that as a thing, like meatball, ragu, sausage.
What would happen if you were to roast that in there? Would it just, that part would get a little kind of tough?
You have sinew, right? You're fighting against like areas that are need a little too toothsome, I like to say. See how I'm just getting this little fascia cap here? And
And when
nothing.
you keep a chop pile, then you don't feel bad about cutting stuff like that.
Right, because it's not going in the garbage.
Yeah.
Well, none of it, exactly. Everything should be turned into something.
There's a seam that's down there. Is that another?
Nope. This was where a actual vein would go, like, right? So it's just like, we don't need to remove that. We're just gonna clean
That
it
is a
up.
piece that would come from experience, though, because what you're showing us, how you find those
Yeah, I would think
separations.
that was
Yeah,
that
you would
be a
think.
natural.
So
I
yeah,
think that
you
there
would
be-
you would cut through, but you don't need to. You can leave it. But what I would trim off is this. See how that looks kind of ugly? I mean, look at that though.
Gorge.
Okay, so we're gonna take. See how I'm pushing away?
This is really nerdy, but I've become a Japanophile, and their whole thing with carpentry is like pulling.
You
Is
never
there-
pull towards yourself.
Because you'll cut yourself, right?
Rule number one in butchery is never, or in anything, never cut towards you.
Gotcha.
Okay? A lot of the, see how this is double? You can see a stitch line? That was designed specifically so when you're butchering it, if you slip, I'm less apt to go through.
Gotcha. Cool, man.
Okay? So there's a reason for this. You're told never to cut toward yourself. Right? So it's like, those are some of the worst, most egregious cuts that you have to try to explain.
Oof,
Right?
yeah.
So
How'd you do that?
Yeah. Well, it's not even how'd you do that. It's like the ones where you're like, what the fuck did I just stab myself?
Yeah.
Right? Why am I an idiot? So here, in this area here, what I'm looking at now is, see this? I got a muscle here, right? What does that kind of look like?
Tenderloin, yeah.
Exactly. This is a leg tendon, right? Or a leg flap. See? So now watch, with my tip of the knife, see how I just made one incision and then I find a new seam? And then flick. Notice I'm just, you don't need to be super aggressive. We got nowhere to be. You guys just want lunch or dinner or something else. But see now, I'm gonna take this whole thing and I can see it curves to here, right? Can you everybody see that? Okay, so I'm just gonna keep working it now if I want to. Run my finger. Rick's talking, everybody.
I couldn't tell.
I I've known Rick for so long, it's not even funny anymore.
Have you ever butchered a moose?
A moose? No. No, I would love to. I mean, you gotta like really have some skill set because those are monsters.
Kill you too.
Just thinking about the like.
Have you eaten moose?
No, I've always wanted.
I wonder what it tastes like. I have to find out.
I'm sorry?
Collectively, multiple moose are used.
Mises.
I can tell you. I'll tell you.
Yes.
A funny story. We were on a. I was on a ski.
Hey, Costantino.
Yo,
Who's the opening chef of Rubicon?
Tracy Desjardins. And then it became Scott Newman, aka Bonglava.
Slap it up.
And come back with baklava and stoned out of his mind.
Bonglava.
So Chris started calling it his trip to Bonglava.
It's hilarious.
Rick and I have so many stories together, cooking together. Oh my god. Okay, so another cut right here. This cut is actually laying on the bone. Okay? We're gonna pull this guy off. And again, you're starting to see all these separate little cuts, right? So like on the bone here, and then bending. You see the knife blade just bending? Okay?
So you can follow the contour of the bone.
Follow the contour of the bone. You do not want a fillet knife. It's too flexible, it'll bend too much, right? You don't have too much play. So there's the difference, right? You have what they call a non-flexible and a flexible boning knife. It kind of, I put them both out, and this is really important when you're butchering through like large cuts, like the full loin through the belly. You want something massive. But for something like this, we don't need that, right? I don't want to waste movement, and this is about short movements. Okay, so now again, I'm on the bone. Okay, look how dark and red that is. Lots of myoglobin, moving parts, right? Chicken, the legs are dark meat. Dark meat tastes better because it's a moving muscle, right? All pork tastes great, but when you have a pork cut from a leg fillet, it's right? That sucker runs.
Why do they taste better?
More movement, more use of muscle, more myoglobin, which is the introduction of blood flow, more blood flow, right? So you have a red, it's a movement of muscle. Chicken breasts, they don't do much, right? They just sit there, right? So it's like there's no, you notice that they're pretty just peaking in the color, but the legs, because they're running and chasing and they're holding up their weight. So you have something that's holding itself up all the time. It's got this like, needs blood flow, it needs oxygen.
And that's where the flavor's coming from.
Flavor's coming from it because it needs to be constantly fed to move. Like you think about an athlete, you're constantly eating and you need oxygen to get through those muscles to move, to run, to do whatever you're doing. It's the same thing with this, right? The more that athlete moves and runs, the stronger their legs become, the more better blood flow they have. Same thing with the pigs. They're constantly rooting. So if they're moving around and properly raised, they're going to have a darker, richer color as they start moving, right? More. And it's always closer to the bone, sweeter is the meat. Everybody remember that song? It's very true.
What's your favorite cut for tonkatsu?
I think it depends. Tonkatsu, I actually do turkey tonkatsu every year with leftover turkey.
Hell yeah.
But I think you want to look at what's your goal. Is it a sandwich, right?
It's Japanese, authentic, like traditional.
Yeah, but tonkatsu, they do a couple different ways, right? There's tonkatsu and then there's tonkatsu sando.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So traditionally, they use a really thick loin with the back fat on. It's pre-cooked and breaded. So it depends on if you want to use that cut or go. Leg fillets work great for it. You just need to find the right one. Okay, so if you want to take a look here, I've got this muscle, right? This one right in particular here. I just removed that sinew that would attach, okay? And it's a ball right here, right? So it's separate muscle. It's kind of crazy, right, to think that these just attach by little pieces. So it makes you, when you butcher this, it kind of makes you think about when you like, oh man, I sprained that. What did I sprain, right? You look at what little holds your things together. And I think sometimes it helps when you talk about that, when you're doing this kind of work, because it gives people connectivity to understand how and what things are that move and why they move, right?
Makes it personal.
It makes it personal. It just makes a connectivity because people don't study animal husbandry. They study, more so now than ever, people are studying movement. How they move, how they walk, the shoes that they wear because it may hurt their feet.
Yeah.
So what is it? And it's the same thing. So if you're understanding that and then you're looking at this when you're breaking it down, you're seeing like, oh, this right here, this is the sinew that maybe or this muscle that I may have pulled in the center of my calf. It all kind of connects that way a little better. That's why I made Brett stand there, as I pointed out your loins on the back. So right here, okay, I'm cutting against that bone now to just pull out the basement. Okay? So we have this trim, that's this meat that's up here. We'll remove that and put that in our sausage or a meatball pile.
Would that be like a culotte on a cow?
What? That? No.
Baseball?
Culotte's a whole different.
Pardon my naivety.
No, that's not. No, that's it. I mean, it's a good question. I think there's some cuts that are crossover by name, but then beef cuts are completely a whole other paradigm. And then now there's a whole world of people making up their own names for cuts, right? So there's like, you see a lot of that now, more so than ever, which can be a little frustrating.
Is that because they're butchering for different purposes, or they're trying to maximize their return on the animal? Like, well, if I cut, this niche.
Sometimes the cuts are just something that's already existing, and they're giving it a fancy name to make it sell. Just like you have sablefish, black cod, toothfish.
And the younger generations always like to change the names so the older generation doesn't
Gets
know.
lost. There is a lot of that going on in the world.
Mansplain you what it is, you're like, yeah, that's a picanha.
That's, I don't know if I don't think it's mansplaining. I think it's called Gen Z splaining. Gen Z splaining now, right? Like, my son was like, fire. I was like, where? And he was like, he just looked at me and was like, dude. He was like, you just don't get it. I was like, okay, I don't get it. Okay, so I have a whole muscle piece right here. This, to me, what would this look like if you were to get it at a store?
Tri-tip?
Exactly. What did you say?
Tri-tip?
Triangle.
Isn't that crazy?
What do they call it when it's pork?
Nothing, because nobody treats a hind leg like this.
What do they do with it?
They hand it. So for me, I look at this and say, how much money can we make out of
I was
it?
going to say, because it seems like it would have a lot more resale value.
Exactly. So like, we're going to take off some of this intramuscular fat. Like you can see, there's the vein there that brings all the blood through. Nobody's going to want that, right? And again, into the grind bin, take off our sinew.
So as part of this equation, there has to be certain efficiency and skill. Like, if you're a company that's processing all kinds of pigs, and they don't have an army of like highly skilled butchers, but rather like, okay, there's a leg, let's make a ham out of it. They're going to get more money out of it in the end because they're not spending a lot of labor to have somebody who has some true skill that can break it down and go, okay, boom, 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 boom.
Yes.
This took me the same amount of time as it took two people to make that into a ham. Yeah, you're paying me more, but you're getting, a lot more out of the product.
From a perspective of big processors, or like, let's just use Foreman as an example, right? They get in the legs, they seam them out, they separate out parts, they brine them, they tumble them, which means they literally put them in gigantic dryers, which would look like a dryer, but it's just to tumble the meat to make it release its natural meat glue. Okay? And then they net it, and then they cook it. That's easier for them to then do than this. But if you're a restaurant and you're buying a whole pig, and you don't have the ability to cure a whole leg or make ham, and you have a pork choice on your menu, Why not rotate through these cuts? I can sell one leg's worth of leg fillets on my dinner menu and cover the cost of my whole pig in one night.
So everything else is green.
Exactly. So it's about learning to maximize your fiscal yield, but also learning to maximize the quality and the benefit of what the pig can offer. Because we've become pretty lackadaisical over the years. Like I've said this a million times, pigs aren't centipedes of pork chops and bacon running through the fields. You have to figure out how to use all the cuts, all the outputs from it. Right? So if you have, like what you just called, a tri-tip of pork for a large party, and you do a 2% brine of salt and herbs, and you brine it for 2 hours and then roast it, this as a cell in a dining room for a large party, it's a pretty cool setup, right? Serve it with some veg, whatever. Like, to me, this is a fiscal win. And also giving the guest what they're coming to you as a restaurant owner is a new experience and a new education and something maybe not be able to find. You're not going to find this at your local butcher shop. Novelty value. Exactly. People will pay for experience, right? And your flavor profiles, and people want, but this cut is going to taste incredible on the table.
So you've got all these various cuts that you treat differently, season, brine, rub, whatever you're doing, you do them different because your surface area to volume ratio or, however.
So like all of these, like this, I would pan sear, just like a tenderloin. Pan sear, like a skirt steak. I could portion this into 6 portions, 6 ounce, and just pan sear and roast, just like you would have. This one, I would leave it whole and roast it for a large party, right? Or you could portion it out, right? What is picanha, right? It's just curled over, right? You cut it, portion it, and curl it over. Same thing, I could do this and call it a picanha and roast it on a stick like an Argentinian steakhouse.
Do each of these have a different name for what you're just...
See, there's your opportunity right there. You come up with
Be an influencer, Chris. Come on. Some cut names.
Oh, the culatello?
Yeah,
So it would be the whole, like part of this here, you're gonna have the baseball haunch, right? 1, 2.
Oh, it's that big of a piece.
Huge hind, right? So they're going to pull it off of one side of your leg. So if we don't have a whole leg right here. I apologize. It's literally one giant round muscle, but it's not round. Okay, you see it and it's round.
Yeah.
It's not a round cut of meat. It's actually put into a casing, a natural casing that helps shape
Is it a
it.
bone that they put it in?
Yeah, and they tie it. So when they're trussing it, it's forcing it to be round with the salt. Now we talked about the transcontaminate when they tumble meat in those, and that naturally comes out when they're tying it and trussing it. The natural transcontaminate by adding salt to meat, it comes out and then it makes it bind together. That's the bottom. So under inside, whole, which would be what you called earlier, the pork tri-tip.
Thank you.
Nope. Sorry I missed that. I apologize.
No, that's good. I'm glad you brought it back up because I was trying to picture which one of these cuts it is, and it's not one cut. It's multiple.
Multiple pushed together. Okay, so we have this one, which we can seam out. I take out this little, which is a sinew pad, right? So this is the head of the tendon, right? Like if you guys can see where it attaches. I want to take that out, and then I can. So you come in. Okay.
And you did not put that in the shop pile.
Stock pile.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can roast it, and the natural gelatin from this will infuse into your stock. Because you can't grind it. It won't break down.
The pork tendons is delicious and soft as beef tendons.
They're not big enough. Think about it. They're just not big enough of an animal, right? Like, so here, you think about it. Here is the pork tendon.
It's like anatomy. This is like medical.
This is how I told you guys. This is how I learned it by going to UC Davis to get that book. Okay, so here is what you're talking about, right? This is the biggest
And the horn.
The whole animal. Beef tendon is this. The whole thing. That's the Achilles of beef, is this big. So we get the tendon and it's that big around of this whole trotter, and usually not this length too. So what would be this is this size.
Which is eminently more presentable than
Cook it, slice it, you can turn it into chicharrones, but it's really interesting. You have to think about the size of the animal compared to what it is. Our tendon, like you think about it, touch your knees in the back. That's ultimately what it is. So picture a one-ton animal, what's going to hold that up?
Bigger, more.
Exactly.
Everything.
Like if a cow is almost the size of that.
Yeah, the weight.
Like it's insane.
It's like the craziest thing in the world when you start like looking and thinking about anatomy right away. And it's such it's overwhelming at times for me when I start to like really think about it, and like when it's really starting to get into it. There's so much to understand, and there's so much I'll never understand. Because I'm not a vet, and I'm not a full-time craft butcher. I'm a chef that wanted to butcher to make better options for my guests. That became more reasonable, right? Like, I wouldn't overcharge my guests. I would just have more options for them as we went through the pits. And we have fun with it, and also we're getting a true test of love to this, right? Like, trotters are delicious. Like, most people don't want to waste the time in their mind to cook them. But braising that and picking all the meat, it's amazing. Then you get the super rich gelatinous stock that you can do anything with. It's like, we used to do foie gras with pig's feet. So we do 4-ounce piece of foie gras, and we do strawberries, strawberry jam, pickled green strawberries, and we'd slather it with pork stock and braised pig's feet. And we call it a hot mess. You either did one or dated one. Right? So, but it was literally our number one selling at the restaurant. Raised pig's feet. So you've got this, right? This is that baseball looking cut. We're going to separate these out in here. Okay, so you have different muscles. So first thing I need to do is kind of free it up so I can look at it, right? Because you notice this has got a lot of intermuscular fat, right, and fascia. So I just want to make sure I'm clean with what I'm looking at.
Wow. Precision.
It depends, right? Like, I have Japanese carbon knives that I've had for years. The knife that I'm making with these guys is going to be a carbon chef's knife, which I'm really excited about.
What company?
Maialata. I'm really excited about it because I created a different shape that was going to be a little bit more efficient for folks that you can use as a slicer and a chef's knife and really match them together. Because I think people get confused and they feel they have to have too many knives. I need a slicing knife, I need this knife, I need that knife. And if we can be smart and give people a really unilateral tool.
Even when you have a multitude of options, you ultimately have a favorite.
True.
That tries to cover a lot of ground, so that's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you go to Japan, there's one particular knife, it's called a kitarasuki. Kitarasuki is a funky shaped knife that actually is what they call a kitchen. It's a really abrupt tip. And only the master in the kitchen was allowed to use it because he could fillet fish, portion meat, cut vegetables, and slice the sushi. And it's kind of become this ubiquitous thing where like a lot of people now want it because they found out the reason for it. And they think like, yeah, I'm the master. It's like most people don't even know how to use it the way they're supposed to. But that was kind of the premise behind it for folks at home. So long enough to be a slicer, it's short enough to be your everyday chef's knife that you can still rock and do great things with, but also you can slice sashimi, you can slice a steak, you can slice your steak. That's the goal.
What are your thoughts on like kind of the merging of the European and Japanese knife culture and shun kind of like they're kind of like combining the two worlds.
I mean, I had a line of knives with Shin.
Yeah.
I had it. I made a Kitterasuki with them. I brought the Kitterasuki to those guys years and years ago. I think that's what the public here understands more than ever. Right? They understand certain styles. The U.S. understands Western style knives, which are double, sharp on both edge, whereas Japanese is a one-sided knife. The one-sided knife was created when you're slicing, you could feel a pin bone cutting through sashimi. So a one-sided knife, it would make a ping, and you would think, okay, I missed a pin bone, I go back and I remove it. But with a Western style knife, you're not going to feel it. It's just the concept of design, right? So most people in the States are used to Western style, which are double side sharpened, and it's just, that's what they're taught in school, and that's the European way. But to me, I go back and forth between the concept of, they were making samurai swords well before we were working with lead in Europe, so like, I kind of trust them a little bit more than steel, right? So you can see I got 3 little cuts in here, right? I flip it over, 1, 2, 3.
This last piece that you cut up seemed like it was a candidate for tying up into a roast.
Which one? This one?
This one and these.
I wouldn't, because there's too much connective tissue. The connective tissue will, yes, you can roast things and connective tissue will break down. But there's a technique of doing it where you would need to like circulate something at a very low temperature to break it down. So then when you did sear it, it would dissipate and break. Right, so using this, I don't really like using cryovac bags and cooking meat in plastic. There does have some applications, but I don't think it's always necessary, right? You could take a cut like this, like you just mentioned, right? Let's just say this is back in here, right? Roll this up, season it heavily, truss it, and slow cook it in pork fat, confit it. And then it's cooked, it breaks the tissue down because it's such a low cooking temperature. You cook it around 225 in the oven covered, and then you chill it, pull it out, slice it, and sear it. Yeah. And you have this really nice, and it's...
At that 210, how long you cook it?
It takes a while. You want to be like, if you used cake testers, I use cake testers for a lot of those things. You can insert a cake tester and the meat just falls right off when you're in a braise, but you know it's done, right? I think it's really, become more comfortable with that, right? But if you're gonna confit something, you need to season it really well, almost over season it. Salt, pepper, herbs, like thyme, bay, rosemary, and then rinse it all off before it goes in the fat. Because when you over season it, confit means to cook in one's own fat. So with salt, you're removing the moisture within the meat, and then you're filling that dead cell that you just sucked all the water out with confit fat, which is then going to keep it super moist. So you have to do that process to get the best result. But this sinew breaks down and becomes just and gooey and delicious.
You can just see, watching you from the beginning to the end, by the time I got down to this piece of meat, I'd be going, oh fuck it, I'm just putting this in.
But and you know what? Here's a good point. You could cube this up and make a stew.
Yeah.
Because this has too much sinew in it and you don't want to process it. But again, that goes along those lines of you have another option. It doesn't just mean ham. It doesn't just mean a grillable. We're giving you...
Yeah. No, this is one.
This is like a fiscal win here. So like you're saying, we make let's just say, we're gonna do pork with green chili and like a beautiful classic, chili, right? Like Mark Miller style Coyote Cafe. Cube this up, you go through this here, and we know this was physically around that bone, right?
Yes, that's a nice flavor for meat there.
Exactly, but what I'm gonna do is I would take this. You can see I trimmed off where the bone was. Closer to the bone, super red, right? Look at the color difference, right? Super flavorful. And we would take this piece here, I'm gonna take this piece off, and I would put that again in that stew and just do nice big cubes. Don't cut out any of the sinew, cube it big, because then when it starts to slowly break down, it becomes tender and unctuous, and then that natural gelatin fills your stew, so you've got this rich, dense stew that you gently heat up slow in the oven, not on a burner because it's solid, gelatinous, right, in your stove pot or whatever that you may have at home, and then you can add to it what you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So a lot of times when they do that, here's a trick.
Sit in the oven instead of the burner just because the oven's going to go slower.
Multi-directional heat, but also think, what happens? Your stock is rock hard. It's a gelatinous thing. You've needed it. So if you put it directly on a burner, what can happen? It could scorch. It scorches on the bottom because it's hard, right? And your proteins fall to the bottom, go to the base of the thing. So if you turn your burner on a medium high, it's going to scorch, and then it's going to taste smoky and burnt. So if you put it in the oven, that heat will come naturally around it, slowly break everything down, and make it just unctuous and delicious without the possibility of scorching.
Is it the same thing for, say, like a, what do you call
Yeah, enamelware, any of those, I always reheat my braises in the oven for safety's sake. It's just a safety thing.
I mean, knowing what you know about anatomy, what do you do for self-care, for yourself, being that you use your body?
Me? Not enough.
Deep tissue work?
I do acupuncture. I have a person that I work with. I have a chiropractor that works with me, and then I have this this woman by the name of Mami. She is in San Francisco. She is a really amazing classic Thai massage where she stands on you and uses her elbows. She makes me cry every time.
Oh God.
Every time I go, I cry. And I'm literally in tears. And every time I go in, all the folks look at me. And I was like, hi. And they were like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm here to see Mani. She's going to make me cry. And she comes out, she's like, don't tell them. But I want to because I need to move these things. Like, it's important, right? So like, I'm also a competitive ultra cyclist. So I'm constantly, okay, so here, this is what we were talking about, right? You got a sinew line in there. You got some sinew in here. There's that really thick tendon, right? This is what we would do for stew. So let's create a stew pile too today, okay? So like here, okay? I've got this piece, all that, it's good. Don't pitch it. So here's our stew, okay? That's our...
This one's too thin to go in the stew?
Yep. It will. You could, but it won't.
Just get tough.
It would get no. It wouldn't get tough. It would disintegrate, right? Because it's not big enough. By the time this is cooked, that's falling apart, right? So now I have this here, right? Do I want to sit it? This has got enough to it where that's a physical cut, right? You can take it and once it's done. So I need to take just this off the outside right here. Again, grind. But I mean, if you really look at this, you're not losing any meat, right? Roast. Okay, I have this little nugget here, and you see, I'm just sticking my fingers in there.
Earlier you were talking about deer and cow versus pig, how they're more upright, the pig is down.
Yeah.
How is it, why is it that like pig and a cow, both herbivores,
But it's not, pig is not an herbivore, it's an omnivore. They eat everything.
Okay, yeah, they
They will eat you, and the French resistance used to feed the Nazis that they would kill to the pigs to hide them.
Hell yeah.
They would strip them naked, burn all their clothes, right? Or use them as uniforms to do what they were doing. And they would starve the pigs and would literally just throw the Nazis in. Bones and all, they can be done with a human in 30 minutes.
But my point though is that a cow is always eating everything that's down.
Yes.
Is it that I'm just trying to think of like what evolutionary advantage there would be for a cow to be more like upright looking and a pig to always be down.
Pigs have tusks. Pigs are meat. So before pigs were
tusks versus horns.
Right? So when a pig is down, it just keeps its eye at low level, and their tusk, and they can just run. Pigs can also run a lot faster than a cow. They're like land race. You ever heard of it called a land race? That's when the pig just fucking goes. And when that fucker goes, he's fucking gone. And if you're in front of him, forget it. He'll break both your legs. When they hit you that fast, like yes, you get a steer that starts getting gallop, but a pig is like 0 to 60. They're gone. And if they hit you at your knee, both of your legs are going backwards. You're breaking your instant. But they have, before they were domesticated to be what we know them are today, they all had this. So it was their safety mechanism, right? And cows that, we domesticated and created truly the animal, right? It really wasn't a normal thing, right? And it's a situation where they've always been taken care of, they're always safe. Feral hogs are the nastiest creatures on the planet. You don't want them in your winery. You don't have feral cows. You don't have feral cows, right? If you get a wild feral pig in your domesticated pig bin, you are screwed because you change the genetics, you change the animal, and the meat changes, and that meat is funky. I'm sure you've had wild boar. It's really funky tasting meat.
Yeah, I grew up with a kid that used to go hunting wild boar on like Santa Cruz Island and the Channel Islands, and they would have they would try to shoot them with a rifle, but they'd have magnums on them just in case.
They charge you. They will hurt you. Okay, so I've got a ball here, right? And you can see the end of it's here. So I'm gonna.
It's like a cinnamon roll of meat.
Exactly.
Archie slate.
I wish I understood a lot more about all that involvement in species. It's like my whole goal was literally by going to UC Davis to buy those books was to understand how to make everything. And they were kind of mad, to be really honest, that I came bought their books to learn how to butcher. But one of the kids was just laughing. He thought,
They're raising them to be butchered.
Yeah.
Hey.
So this guy that I just threw over there, this will be our stew.
Very illuminating.
Okay. Okay, I got one right here, right? So this leg was smaller than the last one because last one was the one that I cut off the pig, right? And you guys saw when I cut it off the pig, I set it up specifically to be like a leg of prosciutto where it was rounded, right? And you notice this one was what they call a square cut, right? So by doing so, right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Plus our pork stewing meat right here. Plus our grind meat, right? And then our bits that we're doing for everything else. But on the last one, I got 14 whole separate muscles, plus this. Now you can take this and portion it out and make individual portions and set them aside, do them as whole roasts, like this guy here. Yum. Roasted as is. A couple 6-ounce portions. Cook it, tie it like this. You get what? 2 tenderloins, right? Tenderloin medallion. If you want to be really crafty, do a Wellington with it, pork Wellington. Treat it like a skirt steak. Again, treat this one like a skirt steak, really quick and thin. Right?
Tacos.
Hell yeah. I love me some carnitas too.
Me too.
A little orange that I refry all crispy. So
Yeah.